What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Haddonfield, Illinois to Camp Crystal Lake and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
How's it going, buddy? I am not the only face on this stream today, though.
That's true. Hello, everybody. We have a guest for the first time. Please welcome Riely McFarlane, noted Canadian monstrosity and comic book artist, to the show for episode 25. We've been talking about having guests for so long, and we're so excited that Riely McFarlane is our first guest. Hello, Riely, and how are you?
Good evening. I am fine. And how are you? Very natural on camera, as you can see.
I am also fine. How is everything in Canada? Riely's from Canada, from those of you who don't know. How is everything up there?
Kind of colder, a bit. Yeah, so far that's about it, to be honest.
I don't know.
Okay, good.
I haven't gone
we're down here in
almost
much. Yeah, we're down here in almost Canada, so.
Yeah,
that's true. We're not that far away.
I went to New York once, so that's something.
What'd you think of it?
It was a big city, and it smelled a little like garbage, but so does Toronto, so it's fine.
Oh, you went to
New York.
Yeah.
You went to New York City.
I went to New York City, yeah, not New York State.
Not the good part of New York.
Yeah. Someday when you come...
I mean, I liked it.
Someday when you come to upstate New York to visit me, you'll realize that it looks much nicer, and if it smells like anything, it probably either smells like leaves or like cows sometimes, depending on where you are.
Oh, okay. I mean, Toronto smells like weed a lot of the time as well, so...
Oh, there you go.
All sorts of experiences here.
That smell's probably going to uptick in our region as well as we get further into 2022 and more laws go into effect.
Yeah, there are like 5 dispensaries I could walk to within 5 minutes from where I live, so it's interesting.
Oh, wow. Nice. All right, cool. Well, we're all excited to have Riely here. It's actually works out perfectly that we have a guest with something to talk about with said guest. That is the comic book that Riely and I are working on together and is currently on Kickstarter, The Amazing Shakes. We're going to dig into that a little later. But it works out great because it's a pretty light week as far as news. I think, the Warner Brothers camp is still reeling from all the DC fandom announcements, so they don't have really anything else as of right now. Marvel has a couple things coming out. We got a little bit of a thing to talk about with Marvel, but not a ton going on. We're going to start off with a Star Wars thing real quick. But speaking of Star Wars, I just want to mention and ask you guys that I said, speaking of Star Wars, the inspirations for Star Wars that George Lucas ripped off a lot of his ideas for. I saw Dune. Have you guys seen Dune?
I did.
I have not yet. I'm the odd one out.
Do you have any interest in seeing Dune, Riely? Is that a thing that you care about?
I do. I would like to. I just have not yet. Also, movie theaters aren't really a thing I'm not into going to yet. So
yes,
yeah, we're in that camp too.
we're in the we just happen to have HBO Max camp and can watch it at home. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Have you read the book or anything?
I have not, but my partner owns a copy of it. If that counts.
There you go. It's one step closer.
Yeah.
Steve, my guess is that you have read the book Dune.
I have read the book, and I have seen the movie.
As someone that has read the book and seen the movie, what did you think of Dune?
I thought it was really well done. I thought it was extremely cinematic. I thought Denis Villeneuve is a master at making things look pretty. And his innovation in some starship designs was really not what I going from the book to the screen didn't translate how I thought it would, but almost translated better than what my mind's eye said. So
there you go.
I will take it.
Yeah, I actually had that note too. Is that I feel like a lot of sci-fi stuff, it's hard to design, like new sci-fi stuff. It's hard to design like a spaceship. It doesn't look like it's from Star Wars or Alien or something like that. And I feel like this was like some cool design stuff. Also, I read a graphic novel adaptation of the first part of the first book of Dune. So I got it was basically like a Cliff Notes, I think, because I could tell just from reading the graphic novel, it was you could tell they were rushing information down until I'm meeting 6 characters on one page. This is They are smushing everything together. I thought it was good. I thought it was really gorgeous. Like you said, it was wonderfully shot. I really like Denis Villeneuve as a director. I think he's got a beautiful eye. Like Blade Runner 2049, I think is like a masterpiece. And Arrival is a great movie. I did think it was a little slow and a little plotting, but also good. Like it wasn't bad. I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna sit through this 2.5 hours again.
Right. But, and I think one thing I'm very curious why Warner didn't greenlight part 2 already, so that people went into this knowing that it's a part 1 of 2. Because the only complaints I've really seen about it were, like you said, that it can be slow at times, and when you think about it, they're splitting a 3-act book into 2 acts, it's gonna end in a lull and then pick back up whenever part 2 comes out. So it's like, guys, you should have let people know what to expect when you're going into the theater to watch it, or your couch in our case.
When there was like a half hour left in the movie, I was like, I don't think they're gonna come to any kind of like conclusion here. I'm pretty sure it's just gonna be a straight cutoff. But anyway, it was good. Riely, does hearing us talk about it make you want to see it more, or make you want to see it less, or nothing?
Well,
no change.
From somebody completely on the outside that hasn't seen it, a lot of what I've seen is people said it was a great prequel to another movie.
I could see that.
As in, it should have been, like you guys were saying, there should have been more implication of there being 2 parts to it. But again, I haven't seen it at all. How'd the dunes look?
They were sandy.
Excellent dunes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent dunes.
Okay.
Anytime we were actually on a sand dune, I was like, "Oh, there it is." My wife thought it was not as funny.
That's the one from the title.
Yeah, exactly.
I know him.
The sand was coarse and it got everywhere. And now we have to talk about the man who made that statement. If anyone didn't hear, it has been officially. Well, has it been officially confirmed? I don't know if it came from the mouse.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know if it came from the mouse, but Hayden Christensen will be coming back as Anakin Skywalker in the Ahsoka series. So we had already known that he was coming back in Obi-Wan. Not confirmed whether he's coming back in what form in Obi-Wan, and also not in this. So we'll have to see what version of Hayden Christensen we get in Ahsoka.
Yes, you're referring to the fact that they announced that he's coming back in the Obi-Wan show as Darth Vader, is what they said. They didn't say he's coming back as, I think they said Anakin / Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. So the question there, I think that we've talked about on a previous episode of this show, the question there is, if Hayden Christensen is going to be Darth Vader, is he just going to wear the suit and we're never going to see his face? And he's certainly not going to do the voice. Like, I don't even know if James Earl Jones is going to do the voice at this point. But certainly Hayden Christensen's not going to be the one to do it. I don't think. He doesn't sound anything like James Earl Jones.
I'd love to see him try.
I would also love to see him try. That's a great point. I would love that. Or is there going to be scenes where he takes his helmet off and we see the burnt Hayden Christensen underneath, but then he's going to look different than the guy at the end of Return of the Jedi and not be speaking with an English accent? So this is all just a bunch of confusing stuff. However, when it comes to Ahsoka, which has been said to take place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, that easily leads me to believe that it's either going to be in flashbacks that he'll be Anakin Skywalker, or he will appear to her as a Force ghost, which is really exciting to me as someone who just watched recently in the last year all of the episodes of the Clone Wars and really got into their relationship. Riely, you and I have talked about Star Wars a little bit, not like in super in depth. Where are you on like the prequels and Hayden Christensen as being Anakin Skywalker in general?
I fully support him in his Star Wars endeavors, and I would love to see him again on screen in, many forms. I'm kind of there for the ride. I think whatever happens, it will be a good time. And that's, I guess, what I'm most concerned about. People have been doing the whole Force Ghost rumors for so long now that I feel like we deserve to see it kind of happen. So I guess that's kind of what my fingers are crossed for. I'd rather see like a, at the moment, Anakin instead of a flashback Anakin. But to see him try to do the voice. I think we'll see in terms of the Obi-Wan show, like some shot of his eye at some point, kind of like we've seen in the other movie. But prequels are a disaster mess. But I do love some of the characters from them, and I guess that is something, right?
Seems like we're
Yeah,
all on the same page there.
I think so. And I think I might have mentioned this before in the show too, where I think that even somebody or like the three of us who seem to agree that the prequels are disaster movies, and not like good disaster movies, like I don't know. I can't think of a good disaster movie, but you know what I mean? The ones where
Right.
there's like a natural disaster. But I feel like most people that don't like the prequels, I feel like understand enough that the actors were well cast and the characters aren't that the characters are okay. It's just that the dialogue and the story is really not great, and it's not what you want to see those characters doing, or it's not the lines that those actors deserve. Like, I think like Hayden Christensen was tough for me because he was the first. Like the prequels were the first thing I ever saw him in. So I had no other
Right.
like bearing of whether or not he was a good actor. So a lot of it was to me like, oh, this guy's bad because he's saying all these terrible garbage lines. But I'm like, you know what? Natalie Portman is terrible in those movies too, and she's an Academy Award-winning amazing actress. So, same with Samuel L. Jackson, Ewan McGregor. Like these are great actors, and they're just given really terrible material to work with. So, apologies to any prequel fans out there. We know you're out there. We know it's all about how old you are when you saw the movies. Like we get it, but in Multiverse Report stamp is the prequels are not great. But again, even though we may not like those movies, we understand those movies are canon and that those actors are the canon portrayals of those characters. So in the right hands, of course, I want to see Hayden Christensen come back as Anakin Skywalker. I want to see him given better material to work with and better dialogue to say and better situations to react to. Like, of course, I want to see that. Yes, give me the Anakin that we were promised, and we're never really delivered unless you're talking about the Clone Wars. I think.
I was just gonna make that
2D
point of
or
like
3D.
I would say both. I like both of those very much. Do you prefer? I'm gonna guess 2D.
Yes, I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's short, it's digestible, it looks gorgeous, it's every second of it has something going on, and I'd love to watch it.
Yes. I actually rewatched it when they added it to Disney Plus not long ago, and I was kind of surprised. For those of you who don't know, we're talking about the Genndy Tartakovsky series, The Clone Wars, that came out before they reinvented it with the 7-series long Ahsoka introducing Clone Wars cartoon series that was made in like a 3D animation. The 2D one has tons more action, like you're saying. Like there's entire episodes that have barely any dialogue at all, and are just like really beautifully constructed. And when I rewatched it, I was kind of surprised that they claimed it to not be canon anymore when they did the new Clone Wars, because there's very little of it that contradicts anything that they did in the 3D version of that series, really. Like maybe a little of the stuff with Anakin at the end, how he discovers some dark sideness, and a character dies that is alive and that stays alive for longer in the other one. But other than that, like they kind of could coexist, because I guess the Clone Wars do it certainly more than the prequels. The prequels really don't show us any like on planet exciting battles of the Clone Wars at all. The Clone Wars series does show us that kind of stuff, but there's always room for more. But the original 2D Clone Wars series is all of that, just constant Jedi versus separatists or whatever.
Yeah, and it took it to like that series in general was, if anyone hasn't seen it, it is well worth watching, and if you have seen it, it's well worth watching again.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all shorts. It's not like you're not in for the slog of the other Clone Wars series, which is still the Clone Wars is such a weird series to me, just because the highs are so high and the lows are turn this thing off. Like any of the filler episodes, and by filler I mean the droid episodes and anything with Jar Jar in it, for the most part.
There's all of season 1.
Like give me the scenes of Anakin and Ahsoka in season 1, and then take the rest and throw it somewhere.
Yeah.
But that series did also make me hate Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith slightly less, because it fills in a lot of those gaps that we should have gotten from the movies.
Yes. And I hope this is going to do that too. I think one of my, when I started watching Rebels, the sequel series to Clone Wars, they deal early on and kind of briefly, they deal with Anakin's relationship with Ahsoka, because Ahsoka's not like, she's a side character in Rebels. She shows up every once in a while. She's not one of the main crew. And there's great, I mean, spoiler alert, if you're planning on watching these shows and we're talking about them, whatever, we're going to talk about some plot details, I guess, right now. There's an episode early on in Rebels where Ahsoka learns that her former master, Anakin Skywalker, is now Darth Vader. It's like a thing where she knows that Darth Vader exists. She knows that Anakin has disappeared, assumes that he's dead, and then she realizes that it is him.
Right.
And that, like, crushing realization is, it's got to be really difficult for her to understand that. And then they have like a amazing lightsaber battle, but then they kind of don't touch that again. And I'm very excited to dig into more of their relationship and how she reacted, to him turning, to like her being betrayed, and like kind of like getting that out, whether it's flashbacks or whether it's just Force Ghost conversations. Like that's like a wealth of drama, I think, for the Ahsoka character that I'm really glad that they're going to be tapping into. Or, I mean, I don't know how they couldn't reference that if they're bringing him back.
Absolutely. And if in live action, much like the rest of the internet, if in live action, if we hear Hayden Christensen refer to Rosario Dawson as Snips, my brain is going to explode.
I thought of that the other day, and I guarantee you that he will.
Yeah, they've got to.
Yeah.
If it's a Force Ghost colloquial thing or whatever, like, yes.
But especially if it's a flashback.
100%.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. We don't really know anything about when that show's happening. We just know that it is happening. We think Book of Boba Fett's coming out in December, and then are we getting Obi-Wan before Mando season 3? We are, right?
I think so.
Obi-Wan shot before Mando season 3, I believe.
Yep, because Mando season 3 is either still shooting or hasn't shot yet, right?
I think they're shooting it now.
Yeah.
From what I remember seeing. But...
So yeah, Obi-Wan will definitely be out before that, which I can't wait.
Yeah,
I love
it's very exciting.
I love Star Wars so much. I'm excited for all this stuff. I don't care if it's bad. I mean, I will, but...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Up there somewhere.
Bravo.
Ooh, a Kit Fisto. Classic minor character.
Delightful, wonderful smile.
When do we get a Kit Fisto Disney Plus animated series?
I showed these to Mike, but I have acquired the aforementioned in the podcast Jizz Whalers. So Figure Dan and the Modal Nodes are now in Lego form in the Haller household.
It's what we needed. It's what you needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. Moving from a galaxy far, far away into the universe of the MCU and Marvel. I should say Marvel/Sony, because we're talking about Spider-Man: No Way Home, a movie that comes up all the time on this podcast. And I'm excited to see it, but I'm also excited, no offense, to stop talking about it, because we talk about it all the time. And every time we talk about it, we spiral out of control. Let's see if we do that again today. This isn't really big of a story, it's just a quote. Spider-Man: No Way Home director John Watts described the film as Spider-Man Endgame. We talked about, was it last week, Steve? We talked about
Holland's quote.
Tom Holland gave a quote about how this is like the end of a trilogy, and they were looking at it like that. They were filming it and writing it as if it was an end. And so this seems really much more in line with that. Yeah, director John Watts was quoted as saying, we were definitely trying to be ambitious. It's like Spider-Man Endgame. And then there's a quote from Tom Holland. This is from an article that debuted on empireonline.com. Tom Holland was quoted as saying, when I was first pitched the idea, I was like, wow, that would be awesome if we could pull it off. He's referencing bringing back all the iconic villains from other universes and movies and things. He said, but there was just no way it's going to work. You're just not going to be able to get everyone to do what they need to do. It's just not going to happen. But it did happen, and it's crazy. So as if we needed more confirmation that we're going to see probably Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin and, all these other characters from, who knows if we're going to see the Lizard from the Andrew Garfield movies or whatever.
Right.
We know Electro's coming.
How would we possibly know that Doc Ock is going to be there? Oh, wait, yeah.
That's
we
right.
saw Alfred Molina. Got it.
In the trailer, yeah.
And all the thirst that came online for him afterwards.
Yep.
Was there thirst for him afterwards? I
There
don't
was
know.
a lot of thirst, actually.
Well, good. Get it, Molina. I don't. I don't know. Like, are we happy that this is an quote unquote end? Like, what do you think, Steve? What do you, or Riley? I mean, what do you interpret? They're calling it Spider-Man's Endgame. Like, is he gonna die at the end of this? Like, what do they mean by that? That's not gonna happen.
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe one of the Spider-Men dies.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like, if we're still going by the still unconfirmed rumor that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are returning as their Peter's Parker.
Peter's Parker. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Peter's Parker for this movie. One of them could certainly die, and I guess that's true. It just seems like if you're making, how do you? It's weird to me that they're calling this a trilogy when the third movie is doing such a huge thing. It's like, how do you wrap up a trilogy when in one movie you're introducing a multiverse and bringing in all these other villains and possibly other Spider-Men? How does that wrap up Tom Holland's story as Peter Parker neatly? I mean, I guess it's possible, but in my little brain, I can't see how that's possible. But, stranger things have happened, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Endgame thing is just that it's the magnum opus, and that like the scale of it, rather than like the
finality.
The put it together with a nice little bow. Bring all these the full Sinister Six in, or whatever they do. I mean, it has to be a Sinister Six, right? There's no way there's not going to be six people they bring back.
I agree with that.
But like, you're doing that, you're hypothetically, please no, bringing back the other Spider-Men, and it's this giant scope of, you're dealing with the multiverse, you've got Strange involved, you've got everything else going on. It's maybe they're talking about the scope of the movie compared to like what Homecoming was and what Far From Home was, where they were relatively contained. Yes, one's in Europe, but they were friendly neighborhood stories. They weren't this giant scale of
giant multiverse, him going to space, whatever. Yeah.
So maybe that's where he's going with it. That said, I agree with you that trying to put a bow on this thing after what they're talking about seems very not going to happen.
I think it seems difficult with all the callbacks to other movies, but we have seen a movie do this successfully before. Into the Spider-Verse had pretty much all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe not villains from other worlds, but it had the concept of a multiverse and everything, and it was incredibly satisfying. I don't know how they pulled it off in one movie, but
that's true, because
be done there.
Yeah, you're right. It's possible, and that was even a case where they were even introducing the main character. Like, we at least have had movies we've known Tom Holland for years. We're familiar with him as Peter Parker. That part's taken care of, at least. Like, his world we're introduced to what he does, and and technically we know these other villains from other movies, so it's kind of like a shorthand. It's basically, and this part what makes it possible for them to do it, but also, as I mentioned before in this podcast, kind of what bothers me a little bit, like, they're relying on our prior knowledge of these movies as a shorthand to be able to give us these characters, instead of just like building a way to give us our own Tom Holland version of Dr. Octopus or whatever. Like, of course I want to see Alfred Molina back as Doc Ock, but it's also like I'd also like to see just a new version of Doc Ock at the same time, because who knows? Right. But you're right, Riley. Because of all that, it is possibly easier for them to do. I just hope that, especially if it's the end of a trilogy, I hope they're able to keep it more or less focused on Tom Holland's Peter Parker, because it is his trilogy. Yeah. And a lot of times in these movies, it has felt like it's less
SONY
his.
Starks?
Thank you. Yes, it's less his trilogy and more Iron Man adjacent movies, including the one that happened after, spoiler alert, Iron Man was dead. They couldn't stop talking about him in that movie. It's like, can you just let this be? I'm sorry, Steve. Did I spoil that for you?
Come on.
They just couldn't let him stop talking about Tony Stark, even though it was supposed to be a Spider-Man movie. So that's, I don't know. This is all stuff that I've kind of mentioned or referenced on this podcast before, but and the other thing about this movie is I was talking to my friend Matt. Shout out to Matt Paseda, listener of the podcast, the other night, and he was talking about how he's really excited to see this movie, and I was like, I'm excited to see it, but I don't know. I can't get too excited because I don't know when I'm going to see it. Like you mentioned, Riely, like I'm not ready to go to theaters right now. Like, COVID numbers not great where Steve and I are, and I'm just not feeling going to a theater. I don't think by December I'll be feeling that way unless something radically changes. So Sony doesn't have a streaming service. I don't know. I don't think this movie's going to Disney Plus. I don't think that deal is in there. So I don't know when I'm going to see this movie. Right. I'm sure it's going to get spoiled for me like crazy by the time I do see it with everything that's being kept secret about it. But it's hard for me to get excited about a thing that I don't know when I'm going to see, even though it's coming out Christmas, whatever.
I still haven't seen Shang-Chi.
Yeah, same.
Like, I guarantee it'll be 45 days from the Eternals drop until I see that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gonna be a Disney Plus thing for me,
yep.
Or whatever Netflix or whatever deal Sony has with their streaming services. I don't know.
Yeah, because frighteningly, that's next week or 2 weeks. Sorry.
Eternals is next week. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe we're gonna mention Eternals in our one shots. Yeah, crazy.
Insanity.
Time is moving so fast.
The last year and a half doesn't exist, and yet it's also the longest period of time in my life.
Yeah,
yes, 100%.
I 100% agree with that. It's like a weird, took forever, and also happened in the blink of an eye at the same time.
Yeah.
I say like when I'm saying like, oh yeah, wasn't that last year? It's like I'm talking about something that happened last month and also 2018.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I don't know.
I've had the same thing happen. Before we move on from Spider-Man, though, I am very excited to see Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin again. That is pretty much the thing I care most about. He has a lot of teeth. I want to see all of them.
Here's what I hope. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Riely. I recently started rewatching all of the every Spider-Man movie in release order. I haven't gotten very far yet. I'm 3/4 of the way through Spider-Man 3 for reasons we've probably discussed on previous episodes of this podcast. I haven't finished that movie, but
it's a good one.
It's
a one.
It's a one. Yeah.
It is a movie that you can watch.
Yes. When that first Spider-Man movie came out with Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, I loved it, and I still love it. I like it very much. Watching it again, I hadn't watched it in a very long time. I was like, yep, this is like more campier than I remember it, but it's still working for me. But the thing that kind of bothered me, that didn't bother me before now, is that you got Willem Dafoe, who looks creepy as hell, just as a normal person can put on a weird face, just crinkle up his face, and he looks like, a goblin.
Right.
Perfect casting. You cast Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, why do you put a giant helmet over his face where you can't see his face at all? You can barely see his mouth talking through the mouth, and then your main hero and your main villain both have masks that cover all their facial expressions. Like,
that's actually good for, these days. Wearing masks are very important. They were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you're right. Well, Green Goblin does have like his is kind of open, so I don't know. You're right. Spider-Man, always COVID-friendly Spider-Man.
Yeah. The most COVID-friendly costume.
Yeah.
Friendly neighborhood COVID man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That sounds infectious in a way that I don't know would be very marketable.
Yeah.
Viral marketing.
Cool. Ooh, wow. There it is.
Yep.
Wow.
I went there.
Believe now.
You did. But anyway, I kind of hope that maybe they like reconfigure Green Goblin's look a little bit if they're bringing him back. Like, just throw some green paint on his face and let his like normal, scary looking face be the Green Goblin face. I don't know.
It just folds in ways you wouldn't expect. It's great.
That's a great way to put it, Riely. Yes, I very much agree. Anyway, get down to what we're here to talk about. We're going to move into our comic book section, and a lot of times on this podcast, we do a Kickstarter call out, and we call out a project that is currently on Kickstarter. For the last couple weeks, the Kickstarter call out, no surprise, has been our very own Kickstarter that for a book that Ryan and I have created together called The Amazing Shakes. And this is the first time that we're going to really talk about it publicly, I guess, together on any kind of recorded thing. So I don't know, Steve, how do you want to do this? Do you have like things you want to talk to us about, or should we just kind of start talking, or what?
I wrote things.
Oh, he's got a list.
I have things.
And Mike, you have an email with a new page in it that you have yet to see.
Oh, that's right, Steve.
Oh boy.
I don't think I even told you this, but Riely is going to debut a new page for me on our show, and the people watching won't be able to see it. People listening won't be able to see it, but they will see our or my reaction to it, and hopefully it will make them want
really
to see it
angry.
themselves.
I was
Really
gonna
angry.
say if I knew that was a thing, there's a way that I probably could have set it up so that we could debut it on the show, but
No,
alas,
that's okay.
technology is not ahead of the curve.
Hey,
So,
maybe if enough people maybe donate to the Kickstarter between now and the next episode, maybe we'll show it on next episode.
there you go.
Ooh.
Fancy.
How about that? Yeah.
Fancy.
Give us your money. It's
I
for a
already
good
did.
cause.
Come on.
Yeah, Steve already did.
I was a day one supporter.
Aw.
That's right, you were. Very much appreciated.
Actually, my wife was too. So
Yes,
Aw,
true.
so sweet.
so I'm getting all the covers. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we might as well. This is our first ever interview on this. Normally,
yeah, and you're interviewing your co-host.
right, exactly. Normally, in a standard interview, this would be where I read the prepackaged. This is the intro for the people I'm interviewing. Everyone here knows Mike. Riely, anything you would like to let us know about your works and whatnot?
I draw.
Fair. That's
Yeah.
That works.
And she draws
Comic-
wonderfully, and she works
Comics.
on comic books. She draws comics, and she does it very well, and she colors them, and she gets paid often to do it.
Yes. All of those
Yes.
are true.
All
There you
those
go.
things are true. She's a
I
professional
like
comic book
comics.
artist. Yes. And she
I like talking about comics. I like bothering my friends talking about comics. And I'm happy to bother your audience talking about our comic.
There you go. And that's what we usually do anyways.
Every call that Riely and I have together, it is roughly 10 minutes of, hey, what's up? How you doing? Then it's talking about our book for another 10 minutes, and then it's talking about other comic books for 2 hours.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much.
And then we
Yeah.
might try to bring it back at the end with like,
Yeah.
oh, so we're good on the comic?
Yeah, what's that thing we
Great.
talked about 2 hours ago? I'll write that
Yeah.
down and do that. Okay,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's how Mike and I ended up doing a podcast. Was our conversations
That
did the
makes
same
a
thing.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're like,
I'm
oh,
starting to think every interaction Mike has with people is just a mini podcast in the works.
yeah, could be. So yeah, I don't know. Like, historically, like, what got you into the medium? Like, either fandom or drawing.
Well, I was always drawing, even when I was younger.
Yep.
Really, really terrible anime doodles. Mostly because of Pokemon and also because of a couple dark years back in high school. But when I moved past that, I got really into superhero comics, and I wasn't exposed to them so much when I was a kid. Nobody in my family is very nerd centric, so I kind of had to find them on my own. My dad helped a bit with watching some 66 Batman with me, which I adore.
Yeah.
The campiness is just chef's kiss. But I kind of found my way through comics for a couple years, and then decided that that was going to be my life for the rest of it. And I've just been worming my way in slowly to the industry ever since then. Reading, trying to, get as much know-how and knowledge as possible. I did go to school for illustration. And then Mike emailed me one day, and that's kind of how we got started on this book together.
There you go. That was
To make it extra nerdy, it was during a D&D session. So.
Right.
I can relate to that. Mike not as much, I don't think, but
No, I'm not anti D&D. I've just never played it.
I mean,
yeah.
It's
we
a good
can
game.
correct that. Talk to Koberger.
Ooh.
So-
Live action D&D podcast.
There you go.
Oh,
So I guess that partly one of the questions I was going to ask was what kind of got the two of you together. Like, how did that happen? Because you didn't have any prior history before starting work on the book, so there's got to be a story there.
I think Mike and I
true.
know the exact answer There's
Yeah.
one person that helped join this new friendship. We count 1, 2, 3. Gail Simone.
Gail Simone,
Mm.
noted, wonderful, amazing comic book writer Gail Simone. She has a thing for, well, she's the queen of nerd Twitter. If you're a nerd on Twitter, not following Gail Simone, do it right now. Correct that mistake. And
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. But years ago, because this comic book has been years in the making, she started a hashtag called I Want to Make Comics. And it was a way for people that were trying to get into the industry or just like indie creators, whatever, to share their work, post script pages or pieces of art, things that they've done, portfolio works, things like that. And at this point, I had already started writing the script for The Amazing Shakes #1, and I knew at some point I was gonna have to find an artist, and that's something that I was very like nervous about because I didn't have any connections. I had kind of mentioned it to some people that I knew that liked illustrating, that just like friends of mine, but they were like, it takes too much time. I don't want to do that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm my own here. Let's go. So I followed that hashtag, and I was just taking notes of the people that I liked, and Riely had contributed to that hashtag and posted some of her work, and immediately jumped out at me. And I was like, wow, this is really great. And then it was about a year-ish of me stalking her on Twitter. And at some point during the pandemic or COVID lockdown, like we've mentioned before, I'm a musician. I write songs. I'm in a couple bands, and this was the first time in a long time that like my bands weren't playing. We weren't even able to get in the same room and talk to each other, let alone practice or anything. We certainly weren't booking gigs, and I was kind of like too anxious to be like working on new material or whatever. And I kind of had this realization of like, okay, for the first time in a long time, your creative path is not beholden to anybody else. You don't have to like check with your bandmates or anything about what you want to do or what album you want to make, whatever. It's like, what do you want to do right now? And I was like, oh, I want to email Riely and make that comic book. That's what I want to do. And so I wrote an email. I was like, very nervously wrote an email. I was like, okay, I'm reaching out cold to a woman on the internet. I need to make her know that I'm not a creep in any way possible. How do I do that? I'll reference Gail Simone, because Gail Simone, if you like Gail Simone, you're probably not a creep, and you're not a member of Comicsgate. So I got to like mention that I found her through Gail Simone. I have to like, okay, she seems to like vampires, so I'll mention that there's vampires in the book that I'm writing. So I'm gonna like, okay, so she likes vampires and blah 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 blah. So I was like really crafting this thing. I was like, I'm gonna compliment the hell out of her and tell her why I think all her drawings are so good, but not in a over dramatic, creepy way. And apparently it worked, because
it was a very good email.
Well, thank you very much. I spent a long time on it, and I was sweating when I hit send.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I spent equally as long replying to it. So
yes, after her D&D session was over, she responded to me, and then we just started working together, and now we've been working together on this for probably close to a year and a half. And speaking of Gail Simone, I just posted an abbreviated story of what I just told you on Twitter the other day, and she liked it and retweeted it. So we got the blessing from the queen herself, Gail Simone. She is the best.
She really
She's like this wholesome figure that just kind of lords over all of comics and makes you feel better if her name is mentioned. She makes me feel warm.
Yeah, agreed.
Seems right. So we've got the basics, like where it came from. This I guess Mike, the script and whatnot. I'm putting money on the fact, seeing you mentioned it's been in the works for years and you've been writing it for a long time. That you guys basically went full script on this and didn't go like Marvel style back and forth, and it was done, all set.
Oh yeah, when I sent it to her, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. I started writing it. Amazing Shakes put out an album at the end of 2019, I think, or was it 2018? I don't remember. Like we said, time.
Yeah, time's a flat circle at this point.
Yeah. But while we were in the studio for that, I got the idea that we should do a comic book, and then it kind of like just was in the back of my head for a while, and then I eventually decided to go ahead and do it. And I had never written a script of anything before, let alone a comic book. So I knew that I had sometimes when you get like a trade paperback, collected edition of a story or something, sometimes the special features in the back, there's like a script or whatever. Yeah. And I knew I had one for like a Grant Morrison script, and I had a Kevin Smith script, and the Grant Morrison script was like insanity looking. So I was like, I'm not going to write a script like that. I'm going to write one like Kevin Smith writes it. So I was like, I literally modeled everything, the formatting on how the Kevin Smith script was in the back of this like Batman story that he'd written. And I spent forever on it, and I like retweaked it and just kept making changes. And I pledged to this Kickstarter for a book called Science by Ashley V. Robinson and Jason Inman. Inman, yeah. And yeah. Yep, by Jason Derulo. And I pledged at a level that would get me feedback from this comic book writer named Mark Andreyko. He's written Supergirl. He's done runs on Manhunter, and he's he put the Love Is Love book that they did after the Pulse nightclub shooting. Like, he orchestrated all that. So he's a well-known creator, and I had read his work and liked it, and it was like a very expensive level to pledge to, but I was like desperate for feedback from someone that knew what I was even talking about, or like anything. And it took a long time to get that feedback because it was like his schedule or whatever. So I ended up getting feedback from Ashley and Jason also, which was great because they helped me with like formatting and just like terminology that I didn't know. So I revamped the script again before Mark Andreyko finally got it. And I thought he was just going to like give me like notes, like an email, right? It took so long, and his schedule was so weird. I ended up getting to talk to him on the phone. He called me, and we spent an hour on the phone together, going over my script page by page. Great. Yeah, it was incredible. I was just like furiously typing down everything that he's saying. Nicest guy. Gave me some great advice, which made me like reconfigure everything again. And then finally, I was like, when I had that moment of clarity during the pandemic, I was like, I want to make this comic book. So by the time I sent it to Riely, it was finished, quote unquote. Since then, Riely and I have made some edits to it. Riely has made some suggestions on like dialogue that's more inclusive of genders beyond he's and she's, which was really kind of a, sad to say, a blind spot for me at the time. But definitely took that under not under consideration. I took it and immediately made that change. Also, like things like she's the expert as far as art and stuff goes. So even if I had a description of a panel, she was like, "Well, I think it looks better this way," or "I added an additional panel to this, so this like flows a little bit better." So it's not like the final script is going to be everything that I put out on the page, which is what I wanted, I have to say too. And I've said this to Riely before, like I was nervous to reach out to an artist that would just literally would only be doing it because I was paying them, and just literally write everything that as it was, and not kind of like be creatively invested themselves.
Right.
That's what I was nervous about that. But with Riely, thankfully, I found somebody that we work really well together, and she is invested in the material enough to suggest things that just make it so much better. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it was a fantastic script when I got it. But I found that Mike was really great about like letting me put my fingers in little pie panels and move them around. A lot of it was totally fine as is. Maybe just some of my personal preference came through in terms of I would love to put a reaction shot here, or I would love to mash these panels into this wider thing. And I remember, Mike, you telling me that you weren't expecting the process to be as collaborative as it was.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I love about comic books is the collaboration. So many people come together to make this thing. And so I had a lot of fun bouncing back and forth with you in terms of things that I thought might just add a little bit. Not that it needed it, but I guess everyone kind of has their own style or their own language, whether it's visual or in terms
Sure.
of a script or words.
Yep.
So I got to put some of my stink on it, so to say. And hopefully it's turning out good. Um,
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
turning out incredible. It looks amazing. It looks amazing, Riley. Your work is
Thank you.
incredible.
Yeah, I was gonna say the couple of things that I've seen, from between the Kickstarter and just random. I think, actually no, it's all the Kickstarter images because right before you launched the Kickstarter, Mike had texted me. He's like, "Hey, these are gonna be in the Kickstarter. Take a look at these." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, Mike." I had pulled them up. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, you have a very distinct style with what you're going for, and I guess I don't know. One of the things I was kind of wondering was like your influences or where you're kind of drawing some of that stuff from, because it's not an art style you see. It seems to kind of blend a couple of different things into it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love cartoons, I love animation, and I love comic book art. I love superheroes. I love, as cheesy as it gets, superheroes, but I love some like spooky comics and I love spooky art too. And I found that Mike's script was like screaming at me, I'm spooky, but I'm funny as well. And that's kind of a genre that I really enjoy. Um, so when I was going through and designing characters, like the style that I went with for the book kind of manifested from the script. It was like, this is what it's telling me like it should look like.
Right.
Like I went with more of a kind of goofy at times um, style, lots of fun facial expressions, which is something that I can like easily link back to Kevin McGuire's work on Justice League International.
Okay.
I love the way that he draws faces and the way that he has his characters act. So that's always been a huge inspiration to me. But I mean, pretty much every comic you take a little bit from. Everyone's art is a collective of the things that they appreciate and enjoy about other people's work. Um, so stuff will slip in. You're like, oh, I think I got this from that person, or I got this specific way of drawing whatever from this person.
Right.
So it just kind of came together as is, and I'll always reference different books depending on the project that I'm working on.
Nice.
So for this book, I remember looking at the way that the panels were done in the recent Mr. Miracle book that DC put out with Tom King and Mitch. So I was looking at that for panels. I always have a copy of I Can't Believe It's Not the Justice League for facial expressions. But yeah, I don't know. It's like influence comes from everywhere. Even cartoons like Steven Universe and everything. You'll look at something and see the way somebody's drawn a specific thing and be like, I'm going to steal that little thing and put it into the big puddle with all the other little things that I've taken from other places and mix it around and see what pops up.
Yeah, I'm sure that artistic process can be quite the melting pot of like this is all the stuff that I enjoy or whatever, and can actually distill it down into what you want to put on the paper. And that it seems like, I mean, everything I've seen is just, it looks awesome. So nothing but compliments on that.
You.
I don't know if the interviewer is supposed to compliment the interviewee, but
hey, why not?
We write the rules. It's our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. If like Riley, you just mentioned that you saw the script as being like scary but funny at the same time. Like that's exactly kind of what I was going for, but that's also kind of what I saw in your art that I thought would be a great fit for it, because like I want the book to be fun and funny and sometimes outright silly, but also like I think before I even wrote the script, I wrote like a big, just like kind of like treatment for myself over like character descriptions and like tone of the universe and stuff. And like, I think I said like fantastic characters suffer real world consequences or something like that. You know, like I want it to be like silly and fun, but I also want it to be, I want that to feel dangerous. Like these characters are in real danger. This isn't something that isn't like, you know, it's not like a cartoon where you're gonna forget the events of the previous episode, you know, by the next episode. It's not like The Simpsons or something where nobody grows up and nobody gets hurt and nobody ages or whatever, you know, like, and so, you know, I saw that in your art. Like you had something on your website. You have something about like a vampire like a sick vampire comic that I thought was great, and like something about boxing that was like, this is like really the exact tone that I'm looking for. And yeah, so I just think it's funny that you saw that in my script because I saw that in your art, and that's the reason why I reached out. And I think, like,
That's why
honestly,
we work so well together.
we work so well together. And I've said this to you before, and I'll say it a million times, that I can't imagine a better fit for the style of the book that I was going for. So
You. Well, thank you, because you
Yeah.
brought me a script that was like, wow, this is fantastic right off the bat. This has so many things
Aw.
that I already love. We've got cool monsters that I get to draw crazy weird fights with in a sewer, and then you let me put so many vampire face close-ups into this book, and that's all I want to draw for the rest of time. Give me vampires, give me their teeth, give me drool and blood and everything. And I think I keep hitting my mic, and I apologize for that.
that's fine.
But it was like this perfect script had dropped onto my lap with, here's
Aw.
everything you like to draw, so draw it. Like, do this project.
I think last time you and I had a call, we joked about having a future issue being called "Oops, All Vampires."
Yes.
So stay tuned, listeners, for "Oops, All Vampires" coming 2184. Who knows?
Yeah.
when that's gonna happen.
Mhm.
That'll be the bonus 6 Kickstarters from now. That'll be your bonus content.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
be a vampire in our book.
There you
Yeah.
go. So
Exactly.
So I do have one more question that I wrote down that Mike, I'm turning it into the what we close every interview with, but for the Multiverse Report. But
Okay.
the question would be, what's on your pull? So what are you reading, or what's on your pull if you're doing digital? So
The pandemic has made it a lot more difficult for me to acquire comics. And I also tend to go through lengths where I just want to read old stuff. So I'll just dig my claws into something old and read through the whole series. I can say I'm very interested in the Nightwing book that's going on right now. It's got a really great dynamic between Dick and Barbara is one of my all-time favorite comic book characters. So seeing her, shine in this way is really great. I like the way that she's being written. I think Tom Taylor is fantastic. So, and the other one is Blue and Gold, which I am obsessed with. It's so good.
Are you caught up on Blue and Gold? Because I'm not.
I
only got the first
am.
two. Okay, I have the third one with me, and I haven't read it yet. But I really like the first two a lot.
Yes. Well, we've got Dan Jurgens writing his son again, and he just knows how to treat Booster, and it makes me very happy seeing him and Ted together. I found a lot of the announcements coming from DC lately have been books that I'm like, that sounds perfect. That sounds like exactly what I want to read. We've got Blue and Gold. We've got this Batgirls
Batgirls,
coming
I'm
out
so
with
excited for
Barbara.
Batgirls. Yeah,
Yeah, and she's like mentoring Steph and Cass, and it's like, yeah, I want to read that. I want to read that right now.
yeah. I wanted to read
So,
that 10 years ago. Yeah, but I'll
yes,
take it
I've
now.
been asking to read this for so long, or like a team up book with Booster and Blue Beetle. It's like I've been wanting to read these things forever, and
Yeah.
seeing some of them, happen right now is very exciting to me.
Yes.
So while I'm not reading as many comics coming out as I would like to be at the moment, I always catch up with them eventually. I think the way that I've been consuming a lot of comic media lately is diving back into the old Justice League cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching it with my partner lately, and he's experiencing it for the first time. So I'm pretty much there beside him, being like, Shire is the best. Did you see that? She hit him with a mace. So that's been a lot of what I've been up to lately.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, that is great. That is great. Yeah, that's the other thing. Riley and I are both big DC Comics fans too, so that was an immediate bond for sure. That we could talk about characters like Booster Gold that not a lot of people are familiar with or know about. But exactly, Steve. Yeah, shrugging his shoulders.
What?
No,
at
now
Booster
let me
Gold.
rephrase that. Were this like 2 years ago, I would have no idea who that was.
He
Thanks
is
to
the greatest hero you've never heard of.
It's true. That's his catchphrase.
There you go. Thanks to the wonder of Mr. Gibson, I am slowly being converted to the DC side as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, Mike was very receptive to me bullying him into reading Booster Gold. So that was very nice of him.
Twist Mike's arm to read a good book. That's
Yeah, I know. It doesn't take much.
I've got we have a stack that we need to swap back and forth one of these days. So
yeah, I know, man.
We've been saying this for a year, so it's not like there's a pandemic raging or anything.
Booster Gold is. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say Booster Gold's a character that's insane to me that there hasn't been any kind of live action adaptation of him. Like he would work so well in live. It's insane.
There's one live action adaptation of him. One single episode of Smallville in the 10th season.
Really?
Which is the reason I watched all of Smallville, just to get to that one episode in the 10th season. So that was a lot. That was a lot.
Did they do an okay job, or was it bad?
It was okay.
Okay.
Resounding sell there.
For Steve and any listeners or viewers that don't know who Booster Gold is, Booster Gold is a somebody from the future, basically, who realizes that he could get really rich and famous if he uses a bunch of this future technology that exists in like the 25th century and travels back in time to the golden age of superheroes and becomes a superhero using all like the technology, but he's kind of in it to be famous.
And then he makes you cry.
Yes, but then it's about him
are
like
always very sad.
Yes, it's about him like learning that he has to be more than someone who's just like seeking fame and how to be a real hero and stuff like. And that to me is like, that is Hollywood movie written all over it for me. Like that kind of like arc and like inner character growth. Amazing. Like why hasn't someone done that yet? Plus time travel. Come on, make that happen.
Well,
does he have a lot of pockets?
I really like that they're touching
pockets.
Yeah. Pouches.
No, I don't think he has any pockets.
No, yeah, very sleek, very streamlined. He has a robot that follows him around and talks to him.
When Marvel was on their big time travel kick, it was all about the pouches.
Oh yeah,
lots of pockets. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going back and forth through time, you want to be able to have ways to carry things. So I understand that.
Yeah,
that's true.
What I really like about Booster Gold and the new series is the social media aspect. Dan Jurgens started Booster. Like he's from the future, but it's almost like Dan knew that we would get to this point in the timeline where Booster would be perfect for like an Instagram model superhero.
Yes.
Like he will take sponsorships, he will take ads, he will, flaunt his face in front of the camera. But the reason that he has the whole tagline of the greatest hero you've never heard of is because the concept is he has to kind of feed into this act of being a superficial loser kind of in order to properly protect the timeline behind the scenes. Nobody thinks he's a threat because he doesn't make himself out to be. So he's a sweetheart and I love him very much.
Yeah, he's great. Come on, Warner Brothers, HBO Max, DC. Let's see that movie. Let's see Booster Gold film.
So now you're saying I have more things I have to put on that pile of things to read.
Yeah, sorry, Steve.
Damn it.
Hey, or you could probably just watch a handful of Justice League Unlimited cartoons.
Oh, true.
That would take less time, because that's how I first met Booster Gold, I think, was Justice League Unlimited.
He's in one episode of it.
Only one?
It's a very good episode, yes, just one.
Oh, man. Okay. I thought he was in more than that. Well, you made a big impression on me, because I thought he was in a lot more than that. But
there you go. Well, speaking of piles of things to read, we're moving back into the world of comics, because we never left.
That's right. And this week we just got the last night actually were the RINGO Awards, the Mike Wieringo Comic Book Industry Awards. This is similar to the Eisners, or there's a bunch of different comic book awards that go out every year. I feel like RINGO Awards often do a lot more, maybe spotlighting a lot of like indie creators or like webtoons and like web online comics and stuff like that. Maybe it's because I think like it's like a fan voting thing. There's also like there's industry people can vote, but also like I think there's fans can vote on some categories as well. So it's kind of like more than just Marvel and DC and Image books popping up all the time. So we got some of the winners here. We didn't write down all the winners, but just kind of spotlighting. Best writer, James Tynion IV for Batman, Something is Killing the Children, Nice House on the Lake. He is a big favorite around these parts on the Multiverse Report. We got Best Artist and Penciler, Jamal Campbell, Far Sector and Naomi. Best Colorist was Tamara Bondvillain. I don't know how to say that last name. It sounds like Bond Villain.
I'm pretty sure you said it right. That sounded like a proper last name.
Bonvillain. For Once and Future, book that Steve is a big fan of, and also Wonder Woman. Best Series, Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai from IDW. Best Original Graphic Novel was Pulp by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. And Best Anthology, Be Gay, Do Comics, also from IDW. Couple big wins for IDW. Obviously, huge win for James Tynion IV, who I like, and am sad that he's leaving Batman very soon. But Riely, are you a fan of, as an artist, Jamal Campbell at all? I know.
Yes.
Very good.
God.
Yeah.
Their work just seems so shiny and like put together, and it's just so pretty to look at that every time you're just kind of stuck looking at it and being like, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird description, but I find that their work is just like very visually pleasing.
Yeah, well, I feel like in an industry like comic books where all the art has to be somewhat visually pleasing, someone to stand out like that is exceptional. Like, you can't, like, describing somebody's art as indescribable when you're in the comic book medium, I feel like is a huge compliment because there's so much incredible visual art.
Yeah, no, whatever they're doing a great job. I really like their art. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. All right, yeah, so that's the Ringo Awards. And moving on to stuff that's coming out this week, we got Amazing Spider-Man number 77. That Ben Reilly saga continues. We got a new team-up book from DC, Aquaman and Green Arrow, Deep Target number 1. I don't know how that's going to work out, but that seems like a super fun... So bizarre.
Blonde boys.
I know, but I mean, I need to see Green Arrow shoot a harpoon. Like, that would be amazing. That's going to happen, right?
That'll be interesting.
I want to see Green Arrow harpoon at like a giant sea monster or something. Let's make that happen. We got a book that I'm super excited about, Batman, The Long Halloween Special number 1. Creative team behind The Long Halloween coming back for a one-shot special sequel to The Long Halloween classic Batman story from years ago. Can't wait to see what that's going to be all about. I got the critically acclaimed Black Widow, number 12, Daredevil, number 35 from Chip Zdarsky, Harley Quinn, number 8, House of Slaughter, number 1. Steve, is House of Slaughter on your pull list?
Yes, it is. Because,
do we know
of course, it has to be.
It has to be. Is this a prequel to Something is Killing the Children, or is it just adjacent? I don't remember.
I believe this is a prequel.
I think it's a prequel too. I think it's like how the whole how
like where
Slaughter
it all came
to be. Yeah, exactly. And I'm still not caught up on the series. My stack of comics to read on the side of my bedside table is just getting out of control.
Yeah, I dropped mine, and now I've realized that it's been like probably close to a month. So Comic Zone is probably getting pissed at me for not picking up my pull. Mm-hmm. But
pick up your pull list, people. Pick up your pull list.
I always email them. I do always email them and say, listen, I know it's there, and if you want to ship it to me, I will pay for shipping, no problem, because they ship pulls like regularly. So it's like, if you want me to do that, fine. And they're always like, no, okay, whenever you get in. So we're on good terms. They know that I understand that you have to pick up your pulls.
Over communicative. That's good, I think.
Yes.
We got Philadelphia number 18, Once in Future 21. Are you following Once in Future like week to week or month to month? Or
yep. No, I got on the floppies for that.
Awesome.
Because I did the first 2 or 3 trades and then got on the floppies, and it's good.
Awesome. And we also got Usagi Yojimbo 23, the aforementioned Ringo award-winning series Usagi Yojimbo. Which I gotta say, I didn't realize that this character had been around for so long. I thought they were introduced to me when they were integrated with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a long time ago. I didn't realize that it had been a thing that before that. So now that it's back, this series has been running for a while, a couple of years, I think. This current series, and it's just been acclaim, nothing but high praise and acclaim for the current run of Usagi Yojimbo. So it makes me feel like something I should get into and start reading.
I love how we've mentioned that Daredevil run so many times on this, and I finally started reading it.
Oh, you really did?
On Unlimited. So I finally have gone back to like.
Oh, good.
I'm literally a page and a half in, because I usually anything on Unlimited I read as I'm going to sleep, and I must have started it at the wrong time, because I was like, I got through like 5 panels and I was like, okay, yep, still there in the morning. All right, sounds good.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, other than that, I gotta say, reading. I am Riley. I've mentioned the Nightwing series on this show a number of times. I think it's incredible. I'm not caught up. I know an issue just came out this past week that's kind of focused on Barbara Gordon. I haven't read that one yet, but I heard it's really, really great. I can't wait to dive into it. And like I said,
I think
Blue
I'm
and Gold as well.
2 issues behind in Nightwing right now.
Okay.
But it's been a fantastic series so far.
Yeah, so fantastic. Batman 89 I'm trying to get caught up on. Superman Son of Kal-El I'm trying to get caught up on. That series started out great, but I'm a couple issues behind. But I want to get caught up for issue 5 when he's coming out as bisexual, so I can make sure that I can read that immediately. Yes. Congratulations to John
excited
Kent.
about that.
So exciting. I know we've talked about that the last couple of weeks on the show as well, and all the idiot conservative people that are mad about it. But you know what? Don't read comics then. Rethink your life.
Comics are for the bisexuals now.
Yes. Yes. I fully agree with that statement. Let's make that happen. We should make pins. That should be a thing that we offer for our next Kickstarter, Riley.
Yes, comics are for bisexuals.
Yeah, or the bisexuals.
And I mean all of the gays and the lesbians and whatever it is you choose to identify with. Comics are for you.
Yeah, they're for everybody. Exactly. They're for everybody. So
everybody except for comic gators.
Which is funny because they call themselves comic gators, but they're not really fans of comics really at all. It seems like they just want to be mad about comic books all the time.
They like to hate comics.
Now the problem though with that description though is, what if it's an alligator that likes comics? Because that would be a comic gator.
Oh, an alligator. Oh, no, yeah, comics are for them. Yeah, comics are super for reptiles.
They're okay as long as it's not the other idiots, like the.
Yeah, no. Okay. If you're a human gator, absolutely not. If you are a reptile,
good to go.
In.
All right, perfect.
If you're a gator,
we're just gonna start laminating the comics so they can read them underwater.
I love it.
Yeah, Gator ER thumbs down. Gator OR thumbs up.
Perfect.
2 thumbs up for our gators. There aren't many in Canada, but I support all of them.
2 thumbs up because they can't put thumbs up.
Yeah, we'll do thumbs up for you, alligators.
Please do not eat us.
Please don't eat us. Buy your Killer Croc comics and have a good time.
Yeah, hang out with the Lizard and Killer Croc, and let's move into one-shots before we go too far down this train.
Okay, then I won't ask my random question about alligator characters in comic books that I don't think there are any. Wait, aren't there like bad guys in the Shazam universe that are alligators? The alligator
I was about
men.
to say, yes. Yeah. Oh, what is his name? He was in 52, I think. There was an alligator character.
I thought they were just called the Alligator Men. I didn't know that there was.
No, there's like a specific character.
They have a cameo in the movie. Actually, they open a door and there's like anthropomorphic alligators inside.
Yeah.
And then they close the door.
The name is on the tip of my tongue, but if I say it wrong on the internet, I don't want to be crucified, so I'm gonna keep it to myself.
You've obviously never heard our podcast then. We don't know how to pronounce anything.
Yeah, and we also have, millions and millions of people that are listening to this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you would definitely be crucified for sure.
I can't even read, so.
Sorry to hear that.
My condolences.
It's tough. But comics are great because they have pictures.
That's why you're not caught up on Nightwing, because you can't actually read.
Exactly, I can't read.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on to our closing segment of one-shots. These are stories that we wanted to talk about, but didn't necessarily want to spend an entire episode talking about. We're going to do these rapid fire, and then we'll go back and discuss them however one we want to dig into them. I'm going to kick it off with a unfortunate and confusing and still kind of to be determined story, I guess. Ruby Rose accuses Batwoman producers and cast members of severe neglect, abuse, and an all-around toxic work environment on the set of Batwoman on the CW, which is why she walked away from the show.
Sony has set 2 more Marvel-adjacent release dates, June 23rd, 2023, and October 6th, 2023. This is in addition to Morbius coming out on January 28th, unfortunately, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 on October 7th, 2022, amazingly.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes.
We got some new info on the tragic cancellation of Y the Last Man on the FX network. Basically, the FX network had paid an extra amount of money to keep the actors under contract during the pandemic when things were shutting down and filming was kind of up in the air. And in order to do a season 2, they would have had to pay even more money to keep that cast retained and to keep everything going on. And apparently that price tag was just too high for FX, and that's why they decided not to renew the show for season 2.
It's a shame. And the early reviews are in for the Eternals, or starting to come in. Very mixed to positive. So it's been described as epic, beautiful, and a masterpiece. A lot of praise for Chloe Zhao's direction. And a direct quote from Justin Chang from the LA Times: "It is the most interesting movie Marvel will ever make, and hopefully the least interesting one that Chloe Zhao will ever make."
I thought that quote was hilarious.
Oh, that's great. So, Riely, any of those that you want to dive more into?
The whole Batwoman situation seems very, very bad, and I don't know what to say apart from I hope everybody is okay, and I don't want anyone to be treated poorly. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, and there's like, she went very hard and very specific on producers and some cast members, but then obviously there was a statement from Warner Brothers saying that like these things aren't true. There was a statement from some of the cast members that said she didn't walk away from the show. She was actually fired, and she got fired because she was, very difficult to work with or whatever. So it's kind of, I don't know, like it's hard to know how much detail is accurate and what is hyperbole and what is someone's experience versus whatever. But like, I don't know, I'm in the believe women camp if there's a toxic work environment. The statements, the rebuttal statements from Warner Brothers or other cast members that I have seen about this have all been from men, or we're in the Warner Brothers corporation itself. That's a faceless corporation, but like 2 cast members that I've seen statements from have been men. I would like to see something from another woman on the show to see if there was like an experience, like a similar experience. I don't want to I'm not going to completely discount Ruby Rose just based on whatever. It is a, like you said, Riely, it's a shitty situation, seemingly all around. I hope that if the things she's saying were true, I hope that those things have been corrected. I hope that the people that are still working on that show are not having to face horrible conditions and, brutal, executive decisions and things like that. But, if more information comes out, I hope, whatever appropriate actions need to be taken are taken. But that is.
But Warner Brothers said everything was okay, Mike.
Yeah.
The giant faceless corporation.
Listen to our corporate overlords?
Yeah, I remember when they hired an asshole named Joss Whedon to remake Justice League, and
Oofa doofa.
Yeah, let's not go back down that road.
We've had that rant before.
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. Steve, 2 more Sony Marvel movies. What do we think these are? They've talked about a Kraven movie. Is the Kraven movie far enough along? They've talked about a Silk movie years ago. There was a Night Watch movie that Spike Lee was going to do years ago. Haven't heard any movie on that or movement on that. Is there just a Venom 3? Like Venom 3, I feel like is probably the more obvious choice, but then what's the other one? What do you think?
I don't know. Like Silk's getting a new run starting in January, so that's going to be at the forefront. The Kraven movie, whatever that ends up being, like they announced it, so
that's cast. At least there's casting for that.
Yeah,
right?
like
Aaron
if we went into things they've announced, it's got to be Kraven or Venom 3. Like there's no, that's kind of Venom 3. I don't think has been announced, but it's obvious, like it's going to happen. So who knows? It's
also. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, go for it.
I was just saying, it's also very exciting that we can now officially say that we are less than 1 year away from Into the Spider-Verse 2.
Yes, very much so.
Into the Spider-Verse 1 is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Steve's sporting his colors right now. for Miles. And yeah, I've been dying for this movie since the minute I walked out of that theater, seeing Into the Spider-Verse. And I do plan to continue my Spider-Man movie watching, if not for the fact that I cannot wait to rewatch Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Miles is fantastic.
Yes,
absolutely.
That film showcased what animation can do, unlike I think we've seen before. It was like a love letter to the medium that it was made in.
Yeah.
It was like, you like animation? Here's all of the animation.
Yeah, here's the best version of everything.
Yeah. And it was like, nobody, regardless of their opinions on superhero movies or Spider-Man as a character, could watch that and not feel something from it. Because it was just such a fantastic story that I thought managed to resonate with everybody.
Yep.
And they did so much and yet managed to make it work. Like, give me the sequel. Show me what comes next. Like, I feel like they could do anything at this point and it would work.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, if you describe that movie to somebody that hadn't seen it, they would, like, or to me, like, if someone described that movie to me, I would be like, there's no way you can do all that in one movie. That's not going to be possible. I'd give it probably a little more leeway because knowing it was animation, like, yeah, you can get away with, you know, a little bit more. But, man, yeah, a whole, like, you know, yeah, maybe somebody knows Peter Parker going in. Maybe somebody knows Miles Morales. I feel like less people probably knew about Spider-Gwen going in, but man, to just introduce all these versions of these characters, if not brand new characters, from whole cloth immediately, and it's a multiverse thing, and there's teaming up, and Spider-Ham, come on, and you're making it all work. Insanity. And it's just the most, I don't know, it delivers on all of its promises. It does not, it absolutely sticks the landing of an insane multiverse movie. And I, like you just said, anything they can do, I'll be down for. I really hope that they deliver on the promise of the post-credits teaser from Into the Spider-Verse 1 with Spider-Man 2099 character voiced by Oscar Isaac. I hope that he plays a big role because I love that guy.
Yeah,
bring
Miguel O'Hara in.
Sorry.
No. Oh no, I was just giving Miguel O'Hara props.
Yeah.
I want them to further the relationship Miles has with his roommate Gonke. That was the one thing I would have liked.
Yeah,
to see a
that's true.
more.
And I guess that was an original that was supposed to be in the movie, but it got cut because it was taking up too much time. Like they did have and I have the one of the special features on the Blu-ray or something is like animatics of those sequences, and
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, it's definitely cool, but you can definitely see how it probably was like. It's like him experimenting with his powers and things like that. It's like, okay, well, the movie kind of shortcuts that enough that you don't really need the other stuff, but it is cool to see for sure.
And I still don't know how they're making a Morbius movie.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out January. I didn't realize that was January, but I guess well, I don't know. Will we find out? Because I'm not going to the theater to see it.
Yeah.
So I don't know when I'll see it.
And that's been bumped around how many times at this point, so.
A lot of times. And January, not traditionally a great month for...
That's usually when releases go to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they have like discount movies that just have to take up a slot, that tends to be where they shove them, which is a shame because it's my birth month.
Oh no, bummer. Is Morbius coming out on your birthday?
When is it coming out?
28th.
The 28th. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Oh no, I will have gained a new level by that point.
Nice. I'm just excited because the Batman is coming out on my birthday this year.
Oh
so
yeah.
I get to go to see. I feel like I probably will mask up and go to a theater to see the Batman because it's my birthday, and I'll just take the day off and I'll go during the middle of the day and no one will be there. It'll be great.
Yeah, you got to see what Edward Cullen is up to wearing the Bruce Wayne suit.
He's a sparkly Bruce
Listen,
Wayne.
Twilight.
The Bruce Wayne
Twilight
suit.
is having a revival nowadays. So.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Things I didn't know.
Good.
Today I learned.
I do love that you described it as a Bruce Wayne suit, not a Batman suit. as if he's gonna be Bruce Wayne, unzip himself, and it'll be Edward Cullen underneath. I hope that
It
happens.
just glitters in the sunlight.
Wouldn't that be great if it's not really a Batman movie? It's just like a way to trick people into seeing like another Twilight movie.
It's another Twilight movie disguised as a Batman movie.
Yeah, that would be honestly, I would give that to them. I would be very like
could
at
pull it
first
off.
I'd be like real mad about it, but then I'd be like, God damn it. Okay, you got me. I'm in this theater. You did it to me.
I've only seen the first Twilight movie, but I would go watch that.
Yeah.
The crossover we've needed.
Riely, were you watching any of the Why the Last Man FX show?
I have not seen it yet. I have a buddy that enjoys comics with me, and he's been super excited for it. So the two of us were pretty let down to see that it had been canceled before it had fully come out.
Yep.
So
I
my
would say,
plan.
yeah, I was gonna say, don't let that deter you from watching it, because
Yeah, I won't. It's on my
it's
list.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was gonna wait for it to finish and watch it, and I was gonna wait for him
Sure.
to watch it. But now I guess I'll just pick it up whenever and see what happens.
Yeah. We talked about it last week or whenever they announced that it was canceled. I was really bummed because when it was like, I think it was Steve and I had finished a podcast and I was checking my phone and I misread the headline. The headline said that it wasn't being renewed, and I thought it said gets renewed for a second season. I was like, oh, hey, that's good news. And then I woke up the next morning and saw it again. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
That sucks.
So
Yeah,
bummer.
It feels
I'm
like they
really-
weren't giving the show a fair shake. Whenever you see something's
Yeah.
been canceled before it's finished airing, it kind of just gives the rest of it a weird kind of purgatory feeling.
Yes, yeah, and I know that the showrunner's trying to get it picked up somewhere else, and even this article that I read that talked about, that it was basically financial reasons that they canceled it. Also mentioned, as Steve and I talked about last week, that HBO Max seems like the most logical place for it because it's a Vertigo book. Vertigo's owned by DC. DC's owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns HBO Max. Like, make that happen. You got a whole DC hub of stuff on HBO Max. Just slide it right in there and keep making that show because it's really great. It's just so good. All the actors are great. I hope people keep watching it so the numbers stay consistent or even go up so people know that there's like a fan base here. And who knows? Maybe Warner Brothers or HBO Max could market it a little bit better than FX could because I don't know, they got money.
And
I think the only
could market
commercial that I saw. Oh, sorry.
I think I'm along the same lines as what you're gonna say.
Well, the only commercial that I saw for it was before What We Do in the Shadows episode, which is on FX. You can't just advertise a show on the network that you're showing it on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Warner Media's got budget for advertising all over the place, so put some of that behind it. And the show's really good. I remember reading that the showrunner had a plan for 5 seasons, so like it's not even like something that's going to go on indefinitely. Like you can plan that out, make it happen. Come on, HBO Max, I'm begging you, give us more Why the Last Man. It's a really good show. I really think that Eternals quote from Justin Chang of the LA Times, most interesting movie Marvel will ever make, hopefully the least interesting movie Chloe Zhao will ever make, is really funny. And yeah, I saw mostly positive stuff, but I also follow a lot of nerds like on Twitter. Another article I read said that people that don't like it don't seem to be into Marvel movies in general, or like nerd fandom in general. So I don't know, because this movie's been a big question mark for me, as you and I have talked about for a long time. I'm not super familiar with these characters. I am enough to know that I'm not super interested in these characters. So I'll be interested to see if they can make a movie that, piques my interest in them. I have read some good stuff. I'm glad that it looks good and it looks beautiful and it looks like a masterpiece. But as we open the show talking about Dune, that looks beautiful, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a heart racing, blood pumping good time. It could be enjoyable, but not necessarily a movie that I want to watch a million times. But I don't know. So again, still a question mark for me. We'll have to see. I don't know how. Did you, Steve? Are you more excited for Eternals? Less excited for Eternals? Where are you?
I'm here. Like you said, it's like you said with Spider-Man. Like, who knows when we're gonna actually see it? Like the hype meter can't raise for
Right.
me until like I know a date where I can see it.
Yeah,
So
that's actually
Yeah,
true.
that's
it's
relatable.
it's weird.
Yeah.
I found that I've kind of stopped believing that any comic film or TV show will get made until it is in front of me, because there have been so many rumors for so many things throughout the years that I'm like, yeah, yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
I've just kind of
Yeah.
stopped believing in any rumor that's come out. So when the Black Widow movie actually happened, it was like, oh,
Oh, here it is.
surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve and I were just talking about that. We did an episode that kind of recapped all the DC fandom stuff. And we were talking
Mhm.
about that because, especially Riley, for you and me, huge DC fans, when they were trying to play catch up with Marvel years ago, they were just announcing tons of stuff that
Yeah.
never ended up happening.
Yeah.
And it's cool, like watching stuff like fandom, seeing, there's like a panel about Batgirl. It has like the writer, the director, and the woman cast as Batgirl, and they don't have anything to show us. There's no trailer. They haven't even started filming. But like just the fact that
Mhm.
like, oh, these three people at least are making this movie is like a
Yeah.
much bigger like, oh, okay, this is happening. I can trust that this is going to be a movie at some point because I can see these people actually talking about it, and it's not just like, hey, look at this cool logo of this thing that you're gonna get 3 years from now, and then 3 years go by and we never see it. Looking at you,
Yeah.
Cyborg movie or whatever,
Mm.
those things aren't
Green
happening.
Lanterns, are they still doing that?
I think it's going to be an HBO show. I think they're still casting it,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, but there hasn't
I
been
mean, I would
much
love
news
for
on
these
it.
things to happen, especially
Yeah,
the background movie. I mean, it's fantastic seeing they have a lead for it and everything.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And they have a director, so like things are moving
yeah.
along, so that's good. But yeah, I'm actually, now that you say that, surprised that there wasn't any update on the Green Lantern show at Fandom. Because that's something that
Yeah,
has
nothing
cast
came
members.
out
It's
on
been
that.
in the work for a while, and there was no Green Lantern stuff.
Mm.
Interesting.
I
Hopefully it
love the
still
Green
happens.
Lantern part of DC, so hopefully
Yeah,
they get it together. And I want to see some other lanterns in there too.
I know.
I want to
I
get
know.
Wirefleas and Sinestro and Atrocitus.
What's the squirrel one? What's his name?
Oh, there's two of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's only one Squirrel Green Lantern. Of course, there's two Squirrel
No,
Green
there's
Lantern.
two. One died. And then they got
Oh,
a new one. Yeah.
spoiler alert. Well, there's
Sorry.
there's
He
like
died a long
six.
time ago, Mike, so.
That's okay. There's like 6 human Green Lanterns, so why can't there be 2 Squirrel Green Lanterns? I guess.
Are we only at 6? I swear I thought there was more.
I
at
just
this point.
randomly guessed. Let's see: Alan Scott, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Simon Boz, Jessica Cruz,
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner, of course.
What is the lady's name that's in the far something?
Oh, yeah, Joe Mullen or Jolene Mullen or something like
Yeah.
that. Joe, yeah, okay.
And
So there's
then-
8 at least.
Yes.
8 mainstream ones that we can think of.
Yeah, I feel like they've had a couple in those little individual graphic novels they put out as well. There was like a Green Lantern kid.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know his name, but yep.
Yeah, me neither.
But there's
Lots
plenty.
lots of people.
Okay,
Lots of
plenty.
people
Okay,
from that.
plenty of room for 2 Squirrel Green Lanterns. Steve, who's your favorite Green Lantern? You don't have one.
You don't have a favorite Green Lantern?
He's a Marvel guy. He doesn't know anything.
I've never read one Green Lantern book. The only
Oh,
Green
it's so
Okay, here,
good.
let's put it this way. The only Green Lantern that I have ever seen or had any association with
Oh,
was the
man.
horribleness of the Ryan Reynolds mess. And I acknowledge
Watch the
that is
Justice League
not
animated
the
series. It's got Jon Stewart.
Oh,
Yeah,
that Jon
yeah.
Stewart?
Yeah.
No, the other one.
Oh,
other
okay.
one.
No, that I fully understand that is a gap in my knowledge. However, I will embrace the fact that I did sit through some of that movie.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Johns wrote Green Lantern for like either 9 or 11 years, something like that. So if you want a fairly linear story, there's
Yeah.
It's
about
like
a decade's worth of comics for you to read.
It's like the Claremont
Yeah.
equivalent. Just
Yeah.
get on it and roll.
Pretty much.
Honestly, it's the second time that Riley's mentioned we've mentioned the Justice League animated show.
It's so
and
good.
Steve, if you or anyone out there wants like a crash course in DC
Mhm.
Comics characters and history and storylines,
Yep.
watch the Justice League cartoon followed by Justice League Unlimited.
Yep.
I think they're all on HBO Max streaming. I'm sure they're available. They're also available on Blu-ray and DVD, all that stuff. Like that is an absolute crash course in major to very minor DC
Yes.
characters across the board. And it's
Nice.
one of the best interpretations of a lot of those characters, similar to Batman the Animated Series.
Yes. Well, it branches off of Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
It's like canon in the DCAU.
Yep. I'll throw it in after. I'll throw it on after I get through Doom Patrol.
Yeah. I've given Steve a lot of DC things to watch and to read and to get through, so he's got a pile.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, my partner, I pass him comics behind me constantly, and it's like, okay, here, read this one now.
Yeah.
So he just read a ton of Green Arrow.
Oh,
There you go.
nice.
I'm still trying to get my wife to pick up Y, and I told her she's like, well, how am I gonna know what happens on the show? Because this is past the we have the wife litmus test where my wife has no care whatsoever in the world about anything comic-y or in general nerddom, and if it can pass that test, it probably fit for the general public. And why with rousing resolve past that litmus test. So she's like,
Well,
how do I know what
she
happens?
approved of?
I mean, any of the like Marvel movie. Dune actually, she was a big fan of, so that worked out.
Okay.
And she likes the Doom Patrol show too, right? Didn't you say? She likes Doom Patrol?
Yeah. We actually we had gotten through most of Dune a couple nights ago, and then we had to finish up like the last 30 minutes or something because she was literally falling asleep because she had been up since like early, and so we finished that up and then immediately went into two episodes of the Doom Patrol. It was like, and one of them was Sex Patrol, which was if Doom Patrol is normally ridiculous, that cranked it up to Spinal Tap levels. Like we were reading 11 on that one. So but
such a good show.
Good
I'm
stuff.
behind on the current. I'm behind on the current season because I've been, it's October. I've been watching more like horror movies and scary stuff than like my normal shows. But I do need to get back to Doom Patrol and Titans. I'm a little behind.
I was gonna say I'm back behind on Titans again. So
but
yeah,
we're
that,
over. We're way over, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, whatever.
Oops.
Yeah.
Hi, Adam.
But yeah, thanks for listening. But I do want to say, because it is peak spooky season and a week from today is Halloween, we will not be releasing an episode on Halloween because I'm going to be doing Halloween things. But we'll probably do one on that Monday, Steve.
Absolutely.
We'll probably bump it to Monday.
Yep.
Riely, I know, Steve, I know you like some horror movies. Riely, I know that you like spooky things, but not necessarily like gory, scary movies. So before we go, I just want to say or ask each of you what your favorite movie to watch around spooky season and or Halloween. What's your favorite scary-ish, spooky-ish movie to watch? I'll go first.
What We Do in the Shadows. Sorry, I didn't mean to totally interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
TV show or movie, it's fantastic. It's hilarious. Yes. It's got some spookies. It's the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
It is hilarious. Mine is the original Halloween, John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween movie. I love it. I love a lot of the sequels too, even though they vary wildly in quality. But that first one, I will end up watching that first one, honestly, probably minimally 3 to 4 times every October. I'll just put it on in the background. I just can't get enough of it around this time. It's just the best.
In all honesty, I really don't have one. Like,
really,
it's a lot of whatever comes around. Yeah, horror movies are always weird with me, especially like now. In college, I had a roommate who was even more obsessed than like anybody that I've ever met, and I saw the whole gamut. Like, we watched everything under the sun over the course of multiple years living together, and now my wife couldn't care less about anything scary. So it's like the only time that I would be able to watch anything. I have that backlog of crap that Mike already gave me that I have to watch. So.
Sorry.
Oh, shucks.
Recommendations are very good.
Yeah, I try to give them the good stuff. But anyway, all right, we should probably wrap up. Riely McFarlane, thank you so much for being here. People can follow Riely on Twitter at Angerspace they can visit her website at RielyMcFarlane.com. Spell it right. That's an R-I-E-L-Y.
Riely. It's spelled wrong because my
It's down
parents
there.
hate me.
It's
That
on the
was a
bottom. I
joke.
spelled it right.
Parents.
It's on the bottom. Okay. Follow her stuff. Follow our Kickstarter. You can look up the Amazing Shakes on Kickstarter. We're doing very well. Riley and I have set ourselves a personal goal to get it fully funded by Halloween. So we're a week away from when we would like to have it fully funded. Our goal officially is not till November, but come on, it's a book about vampires. Let's get this thing funded for spooky season. Come on, people.
Please donate to us. Mike's script is incredible and people need to read it. He deserves to have it read. Please donate.
And Riley's art is incredible. Riley's art is incredible, and it deserves to be looked at with your eyes while holding it in your hands. So check that out. And those are all the plugs that I have. So, Steve, if you want to do your wrap-up spiel, we can get out of here.
Yeah, no, as always, thank you guys for listening. Feel free to follow us on Twitch if you're still watching. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell. If you're on your podcatcher of choice, please leave us a review. Like, subscribe.
Please.
Reviews help people find us, and that's the thing we need to do, because then people are listening to us and also hearing to back the Kickstarter. So it's a win-win for everybody that's on video right now.
Listen to this podcast so that you back our Kickstarter.
There you go. So yeah. Other than that, you want to get in touch with us on all the socials except Twitter. We are the Multiverse Report. On Twitter, it's Multiverse RPT. Or toss us a snail mail line. Nope, not snail mail. Just long form line.
You can do that too.
Feel free. You're not getting my address, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just throw postcards.
There you go.
Throw something in the mailbox, cross your fingers, see what happens. Maybe it'll get to us.
Might show up.
So, themultiversereport@gmail.com. Other than that, I think that might be it, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much to Riley for being here with us and co-hosting this show with us. We really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you around the multiverse.
Bye.